Welcome to our immersion today, where we delve into the nebulous world of Nostradamus. That 16th century figure whose name resonates with echoes of prophecies and predictions. Michel de Nostradamus, better known as Nostradamus, was a French apothecary and, for many, possessed the gift of divination. His book Les Prophéties, a collection of 942 poetic quatrains, has captivated and intrigued humanity for centuries. Did these cryptic, enigmatic quatrains really predict events like the Great Fire of London or the rise of Hitler? Some firmly believe it, while others dismiss it as mere charlatanism. The controversy persists precisely because of this ambiguity. Many attribute supernatural prophetic abilities to him, while others view his writings as simple misinterpretations or even deliberate manipulation. It's fascinating how the controversy remains alive after so many centuries. In this immersion, our goal is to shed light on the life of Nostradamus, his work, and the eternal debate surrounding his prophecies. A fascinating character, without a doubt. We know about his origins, born in 1503 in Saint-Rémy de Provence, France. His family was of Jewish origin, but they converted to Catholicism before his birth. A crucial fact, as his family's conversion to Catholicism in such a complex historical context undoubtedly influenced his life and work. His early education, for example, included studies at the universities of Avignon and Montpellier, where he became interested in medicine. But his academic path was cut short by an outbreak of bubonic plague. The bubonic plague ravaged Europe, marking a turning point in Nostradamus's life. He abandoned his studies and traveled through France, treating the sick and gaining experience in medicine and hygiene. This experience with the plague, with death and suffering, may have influenced his later interest in occultism and prophecy, in his eagerness to unravel the designs of fate. It's an intriguing possibility. In his travels, he encountered healers, alchemists, mystics, figures who could have awakened his curiosity for the unknown. And then tragedy struck again. His wife and 2 children succumbed to the plague, a devastating blow. A terrible tragedy that forced him to rethink his life. After this loss, Nostradamus moved to Salon de Provence, where he remarried, and it was there that he began to delve into the world of the occult, abandoning medicine to dedicate himself to astrology and prophecy. A radical turn. In 1550, he published his first almanac, which earned him fame and the patronage of the elite. It was this success that prompted him to write Les Prophéties. Published in 1555, it is a complex work written in a deliberately obscure and symbolic style. It is here that the mystery truly begins. Because the interpretations of his quatrains are as varied as the readers who approach them. Speaking of interpretations, it is said that Nostradamus used techniques such as divination, drawing inspiration from ancient texts and astrological observations. To protect himself from the Inquisition, he resorted to wordplay, omissions, and a mixture of languages to conceal the true meaning of his quatrains. Hence the difficulty in understanding his work, which becomes almost a hieroglyph to decipher. In other words, Nostradamus's very way of writing sowed the seed of ambiguity and multiple interpretations. But what about the divination technique? What exactly did it consist of? Divination, the Brankas technique, is an ancient technique used to obtain visions. It is believed that Nostradamus used a bowl of water or a mirror to induce a trance state and access hidden knowledge. A method that undoubtedly fueled the aura of mystery that surrounded him. However, it is also important to consider the position of skeptics. Many argue that the accuracy of Nostradamus's prophecies is nothing more than an illusion resulting from post hoc interpretations. That is, they are adapted to events that have already occurred. Retroactive precognition would be the more precise term. The human tendency to seek patterns and meaning, even in randomness, plays a fundamental role in this phenomenon. So, could it be that the ambiguity of his quatrains is the key to his success? That this lack of concreteness allows each generation to find in them what they seek, what they fear, or what they desire? It's a possibility. What is undeniable is that Nostradamus's prophecies, regardless of their veracity, have captured the popular imagination for centuries and continue to be the subject of debate and fascination today. A mystery that invites us to reflect on our own need to know the future, to control the uncontrollable. But before delving into the most famous prophecies, what can we say about the criticisms of Nostradamus's work? What are they based on? Mainly in the vagueness of the quatrains, and in the tendency to interpret them selectively to fit events that have already happened. Furthermore, some scholars like Peter Lamasuria suggest that Nostradamus might have paraphrased older apocalyptic prophecies and historical events, projecting them into the future. A theory that makes us wonder if Nostradamus was truly a visionary or a compiler and adapter of ancient beliefs. Indeed, some even suggest that he might have been commenting on contemporary events in a veiled manner, and that his writings were later interpreted as prophecies. Ultimately, an enigma shrouded in mystery. In the next part of our immersion, we will delve into the analysis of some of his most well-known quatrains and the various interpretations attributed to them. Prepare for a journey through history, prophecy, and human psychology. A journey where reality and fiction intertwine in a labyrinth of words and symbols. Let's now delve into the analysis of some of Nostradamus's most famous quatrains. Those that have fueled imagination and controversy for centuries. Let's start with one of the most debated, Century Quatrain 35. In it, Nostradamus describes an apocalyptic event, a fire that will fall from the sky. What was he referring to? A natural disaster, a nuclear attack? The possibilities are endless. Precisely this ambiguity is what has given rise to so many interpretations. Some link it to the fall of a meteorite, others to the eruption of a volcano. I see. And there are even those who relate it to the explosion of an atomic bomb. As if the quatrain adapts to the fears of each era. But what about the prophecies that seem to coincide with specific historical events? Of course. For example, Century I Quatrain 44, which some interpret as a prediction of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. In that quatrain, Nostradamus speaks of a great lightning bolt that will fall upon a young man. The similarity to the shot that ended Kennedy's life is undeniable. And it has led many to believe that Nostradamus predicted this tragic event. It's fascinating how the human mind seeks connections, finds patterns in the seemingly chaotic. And what about the famous Century X Quatrain 72, the one that mentions the arrival of a great king of terror in the year 1999? That quatrain unleashed a wave of panic and speculation. At the end of the 20th century, many believed that the end of the world was near, that a global catastrophe was looming over humanity. And yet, the year 1999 came and went without any apocalyptic event. Is this proof that Nostradamus was wrong or that we simply didn't know how to interpret his message correctly? This case perfectly illustrates how the historical context and the expectations of the moment influence the interpretation of prophecies. Perhaps the Great King of Terror was not a literal event, but a metaphor for the fear and uncertainty that marked the end of the millennium. A metaphor that continues to resonate in today's world, where the threat of terrorism, political crises, and natural disasters keep us on edge. Continuing with historical connections, Century II Quatrain 6 has been linked to the rise of Hitler and the Second World War. Nostradamus speaks of a character named Hister, a name that inevitably evokes the German dictator. It is true that the phonetic similarity is striking, but as we have seen, the interpretation of the quatrains is a slippery slope. Is Hister a direct reference to Hitler or simply a coincidence? Perhaps we will never know for sure, and that is precisely what makes Nostradamus's prophecies so fascinating and yet so frustrating. The ambiguity, the lack of concreteness, the possibility of multiple readings. It's as if Nostradamus had left us an unsolvable puzzle, a code to decipher that each generation interprets in its own way. That's a good analogy. And that may be the key to his endurance, the ability to adapt to the fears and hopes of each era. As if his quatrains were a mirror that reflects not so much the future but our own perception of it, our yearning for knowledge, our need for control. And it is precisely this fascination with the unknown, this incessant search for answers, that leads us to explore Nostradamus's legacy, to try to unravel the mysteries that his verses contain. Although perhaps the true lesson we can extract from his work is to accept the uncertainty of the future, to understand that destiny is not written in stone but that we are building it with our decisions and actions. Totally a very powerful idea. We have explored the life of Nostradamus, his methods, the controversy surrounding his work, and some of his most emblematic prophecies. But now the key question: was Nostradamus a true prophet? A visionary capable of glimpsing the future through the veil of time? That is the big question that has accompanied us throughout this immersion, and as we have seen, there is no easy answer. The evidence is ambiguous, the interpretations are multiple, the line between reality and fiction blurs in the world of Nostradamus. So we must resign ourselves to uncertainty, accept that we will never know if Nostradamus possessed a supernatural gift or was simply a master of deception. Perhaps the answer is not in the dichotomy between truth and lie but in the very nature of prophecy. Nostradamus's quatrains, with their cryptic and symbolic language, act as a mirror that reflects not so much the future but our own fears, desires, and expectations. That is, the interpretation of prophecies depends largely on the historical and cultural context of the reader. What for one generation may be a clear prediction of a future event, for another may be a mere coincidence or a forced interpretation. And that leads us to another fundamental question: what is the purpose of prophecy? Is it to predict the future accurately or to offer us guidance, a warning, a reflection on the path we are taking as humanity? In that sense, Nostradamus's work, regardless of its veracity, invites us to reflect on our relationship with time, with destiny, and with the incessant search for answers to the unknown. It reminds us that the future is not written in stone but that we are building it with our decisions and actions. And perhaps that is the true lesson we can extract from this immersion: the importance of individual and collective responsibility in building our own destiny. Nostradamus, with his mystery and ambiguity, poses a challenge to us to look inward, analyze our own beliefs and motivations, and act accordingly. We have reached the end of our immersion into the enigmatic world of Nostradamus. We hope that this journey through history, prophecy, and human psychology has inspired you to question and investigate and to forge your own conclusions. Remember that the search for knowledge is an endless journey, a path that leads us to explore the limits of reason and to confront the mysteries that still haunt us. Thank you for joining us in this immersion, and until next time, may curiosity always be the compass that guides our steps. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, you would help me a lot if you subscribed to the channel and gave it a like. And don't forget to leave a comment. I love reading your opinions and suggestions to continue creating content that you like. Until the next Mr.